When a parent says, "My children don't listen to me," what they're really saying is they don't obey. It isn't a matter of not hearing, is it? It's a matter of a child not taking action upon the request of a parent. So, why does this happen and what can we do to change it? The main reason this happens is the child knows there is no consequence to disobedience. In other words, when a child hears a parent speak, they hear and make a conscious decision whether to disregard what they have heard or to comply. If they are aware disregarding it would cause a consequence that they would not want to happen, they will comply. If, on the other hand, they know there's no consequence to disregarding it and the relationship with the parent is not one that motivates compliance anyway, they won't comply. So, what can you do to change this situation if your child doesn't listen or obey when you speak? Some parenting experts have said you need to go to them and speak directly to them face to face every time. This is an example of why sometimes experts give advice that isn't always practical. They haven't lived it enough to recognize that though that sounds good and easy, it only works when you have time to do that. But there isn't always time for you to stop what you are doing, walk into another room, and do that with one child, much less several children. It's not a practical and easily workable solution for busy moms and dads to do consistently. You would need to be able to state an expectation or request from a distance. So here's what to do. Number one, make your expectations clear. There needs to be clear instructions on what to do and when to do it. So in other words, saying, "You need to get your shoes on so we can go." That's not clear because there's no time appropriated for that. So don't always expect compliance until you make it clear. "Go get your shoes on now, please." That's clear. It tells them what to do and when to do it. Number two, don't repeat yourself. Each time you repeat an expectation, you lose authority. As you repeat yourself, each time you say it, the words mean less and less, and the next time you need to tell them something, you will need to repeat more and more. Say it once, and then go to number three. Number three is require confirmation. Once you've stated clearly your expectation, require your child to acknowledge your request. They must say, "Yes, ma'am," or they can say, "Okay, I'll do that right now," or something similar. Make sure they confirm that they heard you. Number four, if they don't confirm, make sure they heard it. This would only apply if they're in another room or are deeply engaged in something like a movie or game. It is possible that they are so involved that they didn't hear your request. Don't get angry, but go to them and look at them face to face. Now, I know that this sounds similar, but just wait. Listen to the rest of it. Ask them if they heard you. If they didn't, then repeat. But this should not happen often. You have to discern the situation here. Don't let them get by with pretending they didn't hear and make it a habit of making you come to them directly, and every time you need them to do something, you have to do that. If it becomes a problem, you may have to require them to come to you when you call and speak to them directly each time for a while. In other words, you're going to do some training. You may have to go to them and make them walk with you to the place where you were and then speak to them face to face. Repeat it at that point. Why do you do this? Because you're training them. It is a consequence of not responding to your request. They will not want to go through that every time. If they're pretending not to hear and they know what they're going to have to do is stop what they're doing, get up, walk over to you wherever you are, and then you repeat the thing they already heard, they're soon going to recognize that is not worth it. They're going to start to listen every time because they won't want to go through that consequence. Don't ever repeat what your expectations are by going to them and directly talking to them where they are if you believe they're pretending not to hear you. Okay, because then that's not a consequence for them to wait for you to come and then you talk directly to them. The consequence is that they have to get up and walk to where you are. Okay, so make that a consequence. You need to make them get up, come to you if you believe they are playing you and pretending they don't hear. You have to discern the situation and make them walk to the place where you were and stand and listen to you face to face each time until they stop the habit of not listening or responding to you when you speak. Number 5, set up privileges and consequences. It's important to make the consequences for behaviors relate to the behavior itself as much as possible, pretty much like what I just described. That is a consequence that relates to the behavior. One way to relate a consequence also is to set up a list of what privileges are in your home and what responsibilities relate to those privileges. For instance, the privilege of using the computer, for instance, that requires certain responsibilities to be fulfilled in order for a child to be able to resource that privilege. One of the requirements for an hour of computer time later in the day, among other requirements, could be that stated parental expectations are responded to immediately during that day. If you state an expectation and your child doesn't respond immediately, you could easily say, "You have just lost 10 minutes of your computer time privilege today. If I have to repeat it, you will lose it all for this evening." If you stick to it, the consequence will cause a quick change in their compliance level. If computer time is not the motivator for your child, whatever is a motivator could be used instead. Number 6, be consistent. Every single piece of parental advice should have this in it. Consistency is the key to effectiveness. If you want your parenting to be effective, you have to be consistent. Parents, you can do this. If you found this video to be helpful, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And please share it with others who you believe might benefit. For an entire parenting program, there is an online course found in the link below called How to Train Your Child to Behave. Thanks for watching.